I'm Sheri Keenan from the Criminal Justice Studies program, and this is the CRIM 244 Police and Society. It has traditionally been taught on ground here only. I've been teaching online since 2003, but we made some changes to our curriculum, and my 244 course has now been moved to first semester freshman. It's a 244 class, so it's usually their first semester sophomore year. And when the Knowles Leavitt came through, they asked us to make some changes. We thought maybe we were losing some freshmen between their freshman and sophomore year retention type issues, because none of the criminal justice faculty were being involved with the students until the first semester sophomore year. So my area of concentration is juvenile justice, policing, gangs, threat groups, stuff like that. So I have the police and society course, and so really as the police is the gatekeepers to the criminal justice system. So I'm teaching 3 sections in the fall, 2 on ground, 1 online. As we got to developing the online course, moving it from on ground to online, I have decided I'm actually going to use this and make my on ground courses a hybrid now because of this. And so when the students enter into Blackboard, this is the first thing that they see with the graphics. I have and I am not real good with laptops, I have a short 4-minute film of live footage of law enforcement, which is absolutely, okay, y'all might not think it's hilarious, but I do. And so it is to a very contemporary song, Bad Boys. And so it has been my experience. Normally I play this the first day after on my on-ground class, face-to-face course. As we go through, I introduce myself, introduce the course material, we look at the books, we talk about my expectations for the class, we go through the syllabus, they sign their student contracts, all that kind of stuff. Then the last 5 minutes of the class, they also go around and introduce themselves in class and what they plan on doing when they grow up with this degree and all that kind of stuff. But I play this in the last 5 minutes, and it really builds the energy for the course. So they leave out that first day just biting at the bit for, this course material. So I have, with the help of Alex, put that in on the announcements page. I've done away with the introduction type page, and so they come right in on announcements page. And so then if we go to the information page, this is where I have okay, so we're going to go back to the information page. This is where the introduction now sits for the online, although I don't really give any points there to go to the discussion board, and I've already put, here's my hello and welcome, and I give them some instructions, and then if we go to the discussion board, I've already put mine up. So they can respond to mine, they put theirs in, they respond to other students, so they really start, building camaraderie right off the bat. And though it's not a graded assignment, it is strongly encouraged that the students participate, for their benefit. So I also have, basic things on this information page, like my office hours, where I'm located, all of that kind of stuff for the fall, my number, even an old picture. And since I've cut my hair, it's actually not so much an old picture anymore. So, and we just go down and the hours, the syllabus, the course events calendar. Some of the things from the syllabus that I think are important maybe might get lost on the syllabus, and so they really need to pay attention, are things like the makeup policy, the students with disabilities, things that might not necessarily, as you know how they are with the syllabus. As I go into the syllabus, for my face-to-face courses, I have a student agreement. And so this lets them know One, that they acknowledge that they have received, read, and understand the policies of the syllabus. 2, that plagiarism and cheating is a serious offense in academia and the consequences of those decisions. That we use APA style in everything that we write. That's the style we use. That's the style I expect. And the 4th one is I understand we have different beliefs, values, opinions, and I'm not expecting you to regurgitate mine and or your fellow classmates, but when expressing dissent, we do it respectfully. Not agreement, respect. And so they sign those 4 points and they hand that in. For the online course, I've made this little quiz. So by completing this, they've taken the quiz and they're like signing that form for me. And so that's under the syllabus. But my syllabus is rather long. And so, you know, and it spells absolutely everything out. Has the classroom decorum for online etiquette. It has special dates, students' disability makeup, you know, all the websites and help desks and all that kind of stuff. And then there's the course schedule. I call it a tentative outline, is attached to it as well. So as you can see, it can get to be a pretty lengthy. I then have discussions about the careers in criminal justice, you know, some of the resources that I'm using for the class, some of the larger assignments like the critical book review and the research writing assignments and when the final exam. So it can be it's a 13-page document, right? So because it's so lengthy, I then on the information, I've pulled out the things that I don't want them, you know, repeat, reinforce. So there's the course calendar, event calendar, there's the makeup policy, there's the students with disabilities, things that they really need to perhaps see twice. And then I have the critical book review assignments and the rubrics and all of that. And I have a LibGuide for my face-to-face class that the library, Phil Orr, is assigned to liberal arts, that he has helped create. And so I want to be equitable to my online as well as face-to-face. And so this leads them to the LibGuide for this course. And so there's the interlibrary loans, there's books, there's the databases, the annotated bibliography, APA, library instruction, you know, all these things. And Phil is updating me a little bit. I've actually done away with some of the books, changed books, but they can also find course syllabi, student agreements, research writing assignments. And so it's a useful tool for this course. And so that's all under just standing information for the students, right? It's just there. And then the actual class is under content. I have broken mine by chapters or weeks. There's 15 chapters, 15, 16 weeks in a semester. So I've kind of coupled it, chapter 1, week 1, and here are the dates. This is the week that I'm talking about. I tell them every assignment is due on Sunday at 5 p.m. They have a whole week to do it. It starts on Monday, ends on Sunday. So late work, they have a whole week to do it. And so that, that takes out all this, well, I had to work late last night. Okay, you had 6 other days to do it, right? So all of that. But again, here's your course events calendar. You didn't get it the first 2 times. Here's the third, So I'm just going to click on one. And so I have used this thing called Mindtap. I went to our national conference. Cengage, being one of our book reps, came up. I changed books for this course. I was not satisfied with the resources and the book. I also have a reader for this course, and there was too much overlap with the reader, and there was material not being covered. So I changed books, and with the new book, there is this Mindtap, and it is student resources. And so it has a study skills builder. It has careers in criminal justice. And it also has the ebook. So students are going to have 3 different options to get their book. They can still get the hard copy with Mindtap. They can get Mindtap with just the ebook, or they can get, I don't know if it's loose leaf or another ebook, but that, there's some variations on my syllabus as to, so they're going to have some options available to you, and different prices, of course, which comes with those options. So hopefully their needs are being met. But under each chapter, the first chapter, I have these two, starting out with, here's some study skills, things that you might want to note, because I am getting first semester freshmen, right? So now I have to address some other things besides content of my course. Here's careers in criminal justice, which I've always, in my courses, talked to students about. I ask them, what do they want to be when they grow up, in their introductions. What are you going to do with this degree? What do you want to do when you grow up? Then here's chapter 1, learning objectives. Here's the ebook. Here's the PowerPoints for chapter 1. With the Mindtap, it comes with videos that talks about materials, and so I've embedded that into each chapter, and then they have a homework for each chapter that reinforces that material. So basically every chapter looks like this, very consistent across the board, so they get into a routine and a pattern to know what to expect every week, every chapter. So going back to content, and it tells them, everything is when it's due. There's exam 1. It covers chapters 1 through 3. Going down through exam 2, so it has all the chapters, the exams, when everything is due. There's the exam 3, exam 4, final comprehensive exam. If they're having trouble with Mindtap, Cengage is their support. So there's the technical support. And then if they want to go off of Blackboard to Cengage website, I've allowed them to also do that. And I don't know if I'll have very many students do it, but I do have some pretty technically savvy students, so they might want to go explore. And I did not use everything in Mindtap. There was a bunch of stuff in Mindtap that I didn't think was applicable, that I thought was busy work, I didn't think was phrased or worded well. We are not a police academy. We're not, giving them badges and guns on graduation. This is a 4-year institution. And so they had some scenarios where you answer and justify. That's between you and your police chief and the academy. I'm not doing that. And the scenarios weren't real. A friend of mine and I, both of us have been on the force almost 15 years each, and we were going through it at the international, at the national conference. We're like, I'm sorry, the option's not on there that we would choose. It just wasn't all inclusive, and so I didn't think it was applicable. But they could go out to Mindtap and play. There's note cards, there's vocabulary, there's a dictionary, there's a thesaurus, there's a bunch of stuff, more resources, but I opted not to use them. The book will it'll read the book to them, but they would have to go out to the Cengage Mindtap. I did in their ebook that I embedded, they can take notes electronically, highlight, all that kind of stuff. And so other than the introduction, I'm not using the discussion board much. As far as the grade center, everything is plugged in neatly by assigned dates. So again, we're going to get used to looking at is a cluster of assignments all due in week 1, a cluster of assignments. So here's their, week 1 video, week 1 homework, chapter 2. And so as they go through then, come on. So
you actually have students in there, it'd be a lot easier to navigate.
Right. Well, and it's a laptop and I'm a desktop person. So, so there's, the chapter 3, well, my tests were in there. Why are they not now?
They're all the end.
Oh, well, that's not what I asked of them. So, by due dates, and so if I back up, then you'll notice that they're all embedded by due dates. So there's chapter 1 after chapter 3. So that whole cluster is together. All the chapter 1 stuff's together, all the chapter 2 stuff together, all the chapter 3 is together, and then that clump of information with the exam is together. So they don't have to go hunting for it. So like I said, after I built this and I realized, and I was kind of evaluating my on-ground face-to-face courses, I realized I think I'm going to use this and make them hybrids. My face-to-face classes. One, I teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so they're 50-minute classes. Now I have 30 to 50 kids per course. So giving exams, taking up homework, taking all these assignments up is really eating into my class time, even with 30 to 35 students. So I'm going to eliminate all of that. It lends more to guest speakers. And we have in the fall, we're setting up where all the guest speakers will be videotaped and they'll be put on here for our online students to view as well. And so they'll be privy to that as well. But so I'll get more lecture time, more discussion time. There is some discussion about videotaping my lectures and embedding them, but we're not sure about that yet. That'd be a lot of lectures because I lecture almost every day. It's some portion of it. And I'd hate to take up that much of somebody else's time to video and stuff. So, but that is police and society pretty much in a nutshell, unless you just want to watch a video, which you probably don't, because I don't think you'd find it as funny as someone who's been in law enforcement does.
We have 3 minutes. Does anyone have any questions or feedback for Sheri?
Okay, so one thing, thinking back to the beginning of the semester, do you coordinate things like ride-alongs?
Yes.
Okay, and will that be available to online students as well?
Yes.
Okay.
If they live in Indiana.
If,
Or if they live in Oklahoma,
yeah.
Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee. Yes, if they're living where I have been,
Okay.
Yes.
Because you have personal relations with
Yes.
departments, then you can actually get them in. Okay.
Yes.
How do your online students talk with one another? Did you say you don't use discussion boards?
Other than the discussion board where they introduce themselves and respond to other people's, they're not going to really do it. We had played around about taking the critical book review and making it a project with PowerPoints, and they'd have to come in and present people have to log in. And then they added a 5th course to me in the fall, an overload, and in fact, they've actually added a 4th section that an adjunct is having to come in and teach. So time-wise, it's pretty much for me to have to monitor the discussions. Criminal justice students tend to be A-type personalities, and they do, not that they're necessarily more unruly, but they're just, boop, there it is. And so, got to watch them a little bit.
So will almost be one-on-one with you.
Mm-hmm. It is. After the first week, it is. Yes.
Because it's based on more like a one-to-many kind of model, do you find it difficult to scale the class because you are just one person? Is there potential, you think there's a possibility that you could think out a way to build some sort of learning community that they could kind of work with each other and so it doesn't exhaust yourself?
Well, again, we were going to do that with the critical book review. And if they log in or are communicating with each other, I feel like I need to be there. And so I would think that would be more taxing on me than having them just submit the assignment itself. And so until we get past this little hump we're about to have a huge influx in our program because we lowered our GPA from 2.5 to 2.0. That was the other thing they hit us with. So all of our pre-CJ is pretty much gone. And moving this to freshman first semester then requires us to teach more sessions in the first 18 months to get everybody in, and our existing students who are sophomores who are expecting to get this course. So as soon as we get over this hump of huge influx, I'm hoping we can have more of that. But until we do,
Before we end the session, do you have any areas or things that you feel torn, you need to get some feedback from your colleagues, or you're pretty much, it seems like it's a pretty completed course. I just want to make sure before we end your...
the only thing that I've grappled with, I do not like Turnitin.com. And so I think I've just made the research writing assignment a submitted assignment, not through turn it in, but just submitted. Safe assign, yeah, was it safe assign? It's the same thing. It's the same. Well, I hate both of them.
Explain why you hate this.
Well, because for one, I don't think academia understands the computer software. So when it initially gives you a printout that say you have somebody that's giving you 25% plagiarism, that may or may not be true. You have to go inside and look. And for my discipline, I have found that it picks up famous authors' names. It picks up buzzwords that are not, like juvenile justice, juvenile delinquency, once an adult, always an adult, key phrases that are now open domain and don't really have to be cited to anybody anymore. So it picks all of those things up and calls it all plagiarism. And so it takes me a lot of time to weed out and what really is plagiarism. When if I'm reading along and someone's moved from an undergrad to a PhD level writing, I can simply copy and paste and put that in Google Scholar and it gives me the article. So it just gets really messy. I don't know what the solution is. And the problem is we've stolen programs from other disciplines and and tried to force them, the programs, to do what we want, just like
The technology hasn't been smart enough to. So we'll continue monitoring if there's new technology.
well, take degree works.
Well, that's Sheri, a round of applause. Great job.
All right.